pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A, Section 18. This meeting will be held on a virtual platform, Zoom. Entries may get in by ID 835-5933-6397 or toll-free number 1-646-558-8656. This meeting is also being televised by Peabody Access TV and Channel 9. First order of business on our agenda is the approval of the meeting of September 17, 2020.
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of the minutes of the September 17th meeting.
I'll second, but I would like to make a request for a correction.
Go ahead, Dr. Otto.
There's a statement on the Stone Gate page that I was in favor of the gate, but I was simply asking questions because I'd been so out of the loop on the project for so long that I really did not understand the configuration of the gate with respect to the roadway. So I did not opine in either direction about the gate.
I'll add that in.
Thank you.
Any other comments on the meeting? This time all those in favor, please raise your hand. It looks like we have unanimous. Next order is site building permit plan review for 98 Main Street, map 085, lot 075.
Mr. Chairman, I just got off the phone with attorney John Kelty, who is representing the applicant. He was having technical difficulties, but he is accessing the meeting at the moment if we were to give him a second.
We'll give him a couple of minutes.
The issue, I believe, is that this agenda was scanned and that everybody is used to clicking on the link and joining.
Do you want to give a little briefing on this one before the attorney comes in?
I can. I think it'd probably be best if I was just to wait, though, for when Jack gets here, in case if he wants to respond to anything.
Has it gone back through construction review, though?
He did, yeah.
Okay. I didn't see a recommendation. Did I miss it?
When Jack gets on, I'll explain, which I think he is. I think
Okay.
There. Oh, no, this is the attorney.
Sorry, don't mean to get ahead of you.
I emailed the agenda to Jack and let him know how to get on, so he should be getting on soon.
Drew, do you have the plan?
I do, yep. I can, I'll share it on my screen when it begins. There he is.
Jack, you're up.
Timing is everything in life. I'm representing the owners of 98 Main Street. If you recall, we were before the Construction Review Committee and then this board. We had encountered some problems with respect to the fire department and police and safety. We have filed a new plan with the board and paid the second application fee, and now the plan shows an opening toward the rear of the premises, and that opening is two ways out onto the right of way, the 13-foot right of way that is at the parking lot. It's on the lower side.
So
Parking lot of the Knights of Columbus. And then we also have added a 20-foot opening up on the 13-foot right of way that is on the northerly, easterly side of the property. So we, I believe, have gotten a favorable report from the fire department. And then I have been advised that our neighbors, the McDonald's, who live immediately to the rear of 98 Main, that they have some issues with respect to access and parking and the like. But my client has had his property surveyed. There is an encroachment by the McDonald's upon a portion of my client's land. He would like to build a wall as shown on the plan and leave the two openings to address police and fire concerns.
Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, if I could just provide a quick little background as well. I'm going to share the screen again of the plan, but Mr. Kelty and his client did come before construction review. This, as Attorney Kelty mentioned, this was filed originally. The 20-foot opening was not in the original plan, and according to or at the first meeting, Lieutenant Chris Dowling from the Peabody Fire Department did have quite an issue with that. So the applicant did withdraw their application, and now this is a new application showing the opening in the wall. There is correspondence from the fire department in your packet showing that with this new opening, the fire department is okay with this project now, that the fire trucks will be able to pull through and around or in front of the McDonald's property if they need to. And I will also state that this was this site plan application stems from a special permit condition that this property, 98 Main Street, was granted by the city council.
The city council special permit had stated that we should block the view and block headlights from impacting the McDonald residents. And when we resolved the issue of how we were going to do that, then that should be submitted to the city planning board and construction review committee for a site plan review.
Dr.
Chairman,
Arnold?
could I ask
To the chair.
through the chair to Attorney Kelty, was there a fence proposed on the original site plan that was reviewed in what, 2015?
There was not a wall and fence at the rear of the property. There were actually, I think on our original plans, hold on. Yeah, the original plans under date of December 10th, 2015 did not show, they showed property lines, but they did not show the fences that we're now showing now.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, we should receive two communications from Tracy McDonald, one dated September 30th and the other dated October 1st.
You have a second?
Second.
Dr. Otto, all those in favor? Unanimous? Yes, Mr. Foote.
To Attorney Kelty. Attorney Kelty, has the fire department actually laid eyes on these plans?
Yes.
Okay, and he was okay with the position of that 20-foot opening?
Yes, that's what his memo
All right,
states.
okay. That's what I read
Yeah,
too.
John, I can say that at the first meeting, that was the big point of concern for the fire department, was that they would not be able to pull their trucks all the way through. We then subsequently met again with this new application, and Lieutenant Dowling, or I think Lieutenant, it might be Captain, was okay with this opening and where it's placed.
Although true, this is not a public hearing, I would allow, is Scott Massey the attorney for the McDonald's?
He is, yep, and actually the McDonald's are present as well.
I would accept a statement from the attorney. Go ahead, Mr. Macy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would say thank you very much for allowing us to speak. I can say with regards to this particular plan, I didn't see it, nor did the McDonald's see it until yesterday when Attorney Kelty sent it to me. I did have a chance to take a look at procedural at the special permit, and the special permit that Attorney Kelty references that whatever type of fencing or landscaping was supposed to be used was supposed to be presented to by the petitioner to the abutters for comment. And upon receipt of that comment, only then was it supposed to be submitted for construction review and the planning board for site plan review. I can say that that wasn't done in this particular plan, nor the previous plan that was withdrawn where the McDonald's consulted before any type of plan was put forward. I can say I spoke to Tracy McDonald, and one of the concerns is that we've got a piece of land that the McDonald's own that's essentially landlocked. They've got a piece of land, there's two right-of-ways on the side. It's very difficult maneuvering, there's difficulty parking back there. There's an existing wall that already exists across the border of their property, which Attorney Kelty rightfully says encroaches slightly onto his client's property. But our concern with that is that if you looked at Ms. McDonald's letter, is that we don't see really the significance or the reasoning to tear down that wall, which has been there, and she testified that significantly longer than 2015 for the purposes of putting in another wall, essentially the same. What they would suggest may be more appropriate on that would be to allow the wall that's there to stay, and maybe to extend during the duration of that distance the wall that the petitioner may seek to put in. The other concern we have with regards to the wall facing the right-of-way is that, again, there's a problem with parking back there. Their concern is that they're not going to have the ability to get vehicles back there to get, and like she stated, oil tank to fill their tank back there. There's really no place for them to park. By virtue of putting the fence there, that's going to eliminate any ability pretty much for them to park anywhere. Again, maybe the solution to that would be, and if they were consulted, they may have been able to suggest that, would be maybe to move, if we have to have the fence there, maybe to move it in a few more feet to allow a little additional room back there for some people to maneuver and or to park. I would ask, and on behalf of the McDonald's, I don't know if anybody in the board's actually been out there and had a chance to look at the particular property we're talking about, but I think it might be easier to understand some of the concerns that the McDonald's had if the board actually maybe went out there and took a look at the actual property itself. And I think they can kind of see what Ms. McDonald was trying to reference to in her letters and in her photographs that she submitted.
Thank you, Mr. Macy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any comments from the board? Judy?
I worked on this plan a lot when it came before the city council because of the nature of the front building as a historic structure and the desire of abutters and others to preserve it. And I do sort of remember the back situation, but I will be honest, while it's wonderful to have the photographs, it's hard to kind of put them in context, to be honest. So I would not be opposed to having the ability to take another look at this. And I will say, I thought that the reason the new fence was going up is because the McDonald's wanted it.
No.
Mr. Ford?
Just for the record, I've made two site visits down there, one of them about 2 hours ago. And it is a pretty tight area. You have the McDonald house in the back. There's another 6-family house, I believe, adjacent to that. And the only means in and out is that driveway along the easterly side of the property, which half of it is marked off as a fire lane, as well it should be. It is cramped quarters back there.
Attorney Kelty, would you like to respond?
I'm fully aware. I've been to the site on a number of occasions over the last few years, and I'm fully aware of just how tight it is. I know that the 6-family just has very, very little parking, and in general, there's always a concern shared by everybody in that area of blocking the rights of way and impeding general flow of traffic. My client wanted to keep his area where he hopes to park any tenant that he has, whether it be commercial or residential. He wants to be able to park his clients, customers, tenants in his parking area. And that's why he actually is proposing this wall and to be able to manage it more readily. I'm sorry that it impacts negatively the McDonald's, but my client is exercising his rights as a landowner and locating anything he intends to build or paint, etc. It will all be located on his property. He has discovered a number of encroachments. There used to be some Jersey barriers that were placed, that was supposed to be placed between the Knights of Columbus lot and the this particular piece of property, but they were some 5 or 6 feet inside the property line. They have since been removed, and as we move forward, my client will do the best he can to build what he said he would build several years ago, and continue to exercise his rights as a landowner.
Thank you, Mr. Kelty. Any other questions from the board? Roy?
Thank you. So I guess through the chair to the McDonald's family's attorney, Mr. Massey, I just had a question. If
Sure.
So it looks like you, by reading the letter, assuming it's factual, that your clients have owned the home for 17 years. I suspect the house is older than 17 years. So has anyone ever told your clients that that wall was encroaching? Is there a case here for adverse possession?
We believe there is. I've only been retained by them recently, and we have been looking at that possibility. They've owned the property correctly, and according to them, when they purchased the property, the wall was intact. It was there. So it's not something, I know that Attorney Kelty had suggested that in 2015, the wall may not have been shown, but that was clearly there when they purchased the property. And that's one of the other concerns that they have, is they don't see the reason why this wall needs to be taken down if there's already one there.
Do you know, or does Mr. Kelty know the amount of the encroachment? Is it Is it 6 inches, 6 feet, some number in
No,
between?
it's closer to 1 foot than it is to 6 feet. It's, you know,
Okay. And
I believe that
in-
it's
In an effort
approximately
to, in an effort to be good neighbors, is there any way that your client would entertain selling or somehow do, transferring this foot of land such that the wall can stay and make good neighbors?
I can address that question. That at one point, some time ago, my client was intending to purchase the McDonald's home. They had set up for a closing, and at approximately the 11th hour, uh, our neighbors decided not to go through with the sale. Be that as it may, that was a hopeful and potential resolution to the issue, to this particular issue, would be for my client to own everything. However, the fact that that didn't work out, we would say, I mean, I could have my client consider uh, leaving their wall, but if we were to build another wall um, inside our property line, we don't necessarily, we would be losing space. We would be losing the thickness of the wall, coupled with the several inch encroachment of the existing wall. So my client would be losing area in significant amounts of area. Um, is exploring putting a fence on top of the existing wall a possibility? If we were to be given permission by the McDonald's to put our fence on above their wall, I suppose that's something we could discuss and and look at.
Mr.
Maybe we
Chair,
want to consider, postponing this decision to the next meeting or something. I don't know. I defer to the chairman.
Mr. Chairman, can I just, if I may, Tracy and Billy McDonald, who are attending this as well, they've used the Zoom function to raise their hand. Would you like me to unmute them?
It's just not really regular to do that, but in this circumstance, I'll allow it for a brief comment.
Hi, I'm Tracy McDonald.
Could you speak up, please?
Hi, I'm Tracy McDonald, and I'm the abutter to 98 Rear Main Street. I just want to address just a couple of little things that Attorney Kelty said. One was about the sale of the house. I had explained to the abutter my job was up in the air, and it was possible that the business that I was working for was closing. And because of that, I had asked him if we could hold off the sale until I could figure out my job situation. And he agreed. And we actually gave him first right of refusal when we were going to sell in the spring. He came a few months later. He asked me, or my husband, I should say, if we were still willing to sell. We said yes. And then the following day, he contacted my husband and said no, because his wife wasn't in agreement. So that's why the house did not end up selling to him. The other thing is this wall and fencing that does surround my property. All of it was there when we bought the house 17 years ago, and I even believe it was there for another at least 5 or 7, when the other owners, David and Tracy, owned the property. We've never touched any of the border fencing. We've left everything the way it is. All we've tried to really do is add to it. When I bought the house, I thought and was told all this property belonged to us, so I treated it like it was ours and I took care of it. If this wall or fencing goes up, down the right-of-way side fire lane down to my house, it will cause major problems, turnaround traffic flow, parking. I mean, it will just turn my life upside down. I don't even know what I would do at this point. I don't even think I'd be able to sell it to somebody, because how can you sell property when you can't get your heating or you can't get, if you have issues of maintenance, anybody to come in and you have no place to park.
Thank you. Mr. Abernathy.
Through the chair to Attorney Massey.
Yes, sir.
I understand from Mrs. McDonald's comments and from the letter that apparently servicemen, oil delivery men, and others are going to be unable to access or to do their deliveries and services if this wall goes up. Is that to suggest that currently they've been using the applicant's property for that purpose?
I can't answer as to how they've been getting in and out of that property, but
It seems to me that if the wall is going to prevent it, that the wall prevents
quite possibly,
using the property.
quite possibly.
And about the parking space, finally, they indicated that they would lose parking. Can you explain how that would, as a result of the construction of the wall?
Sure. The wall, I think some of the parking occurs along the wall where the side where the right of way is. And if the fence is there, it's going to be difficult because if a car is parking there, because there are tenants that park inside that area, and which allows them to park, again, some of it into the right of way. If a tenant is going to park right where the fence is, then it's going to be almost impossible for them to park because then they won't even be able to get by to the rest of the right of way. So some of the tenants that are aware of are actually using that parcel now, but once the fence goes in into a wall, then it's going to be difficult because there's so many vehicles trying to park there for them to be able to park. I guess, and it is easy. And again, I know it's hard to really sell by words, but that's why I had suggested that it may be a better idea if some of the board members haven't been able to go out there and look. They may have a better reasoning as to where the McDonald's are coming from if they're able to see the actual property.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ford.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, question for Attorney Kelty.
Yes,
Jack,
sir.
there's a residential component with this property, correct?
Yes.
And is there an X amount of parking required to go with that
Not in the
residential
downtown.
status?
No.
Is there a possibility of abutters or surrounding neighbors renting parking spots from your client?
If there were to be some available, yes, I would suggest that's a possibility. But I believe what's happening is that the planning board is being asked to solve a problem which is private, and you're a public board, and my client is acting within his rights, and he's asking for an approval of a plan which makes great sense and seems to have satisfied the fire department's concerns. And while I would say that the possibility exists perhaps of rental, I'm not going to promise that because I don't know if he has any extra spaces.
And I agree with your comment. This is a private, perhaps civil matter, but we're trying to build good fences here.
Mr. Gagnon.
Through the chair, I'd like to direct this towards Jack Kelty, Attorney Kelty. So the pre-existing wall that's encroaching on your client's property by a few inches, that wall, your client wants to put a fence on top of that. He wants
to build his own wall and put a
Right.
fence on top of that. That's correct.
So if you use the pre-existing wall and you put a fence in the middle of that wall, I mean, that fence could actually be on your abutter's property, and then
It could be.
It causes more issues and issues that aren't necessary. For me, I mean, if there's a wall there and you are going to build a wall on, I mean, your client is going to build a wall towards the property line that's going to be as good or better as the wall that's there and puts the fence on top of that and everything is fine. I don't really see a problem with that. I think because I don't think that the wall that's there, I don't think it, I mean, does it have a sentimental value? I don't know. It was there before they bought it. I don't know. But to me, my opinion is allow the, Attorney Kelty's client to build the wall on his or her property. And if that entails taking down an existing wall that encroaches on that, I think that's, renting out spaces and worrying about easements of fences. I mean, if the fence is on their property now, do you need an easement for that fence? I mean, it's getting a little complicated. I mean, I feel for the McDonald's. I understand their situation, but I think the clean way to look at this is take down the wall, put a new wall on your client's property. I would hope that it would be something that's better than what's there. I mean, if it's an old wall, I mean, I'm thinking a new wall is going to look nice with a nice fence on it and give them some privacy. So that's my comment.
I think I can address what the problem is with the existing wall versus our wall. Our wall wants to be on the property line and run the length of the property line. The encroaching wall is several inches. It shows on a December 5th, 2019 plan, which was a survey done by LeBlanc Survey of Danvers. And it shows the wall, but if, for instance, if the back property line is 52 feet, that wall extends from the left side, the Knight's side, only to a point a little less than halfway. So I think the real problem with our wall is that because our wall is going to go the length of the property, I believe, and I don't mean to create an issue, but I believe that it's that new section of wall running the other 20 or so feet, 25 feet to the corner of the respective lots, the McDonald's and ours. I think that's what's causing the problem. I think that's the area that delivery trucks come in. And the LeBlanc survey plan that I happen to be looking at, it doesn't really show the location of the McDonald's residents in relation to their lot. So I don't know how much of a front yard they really have in terms of, feet.
Any other questions? Mr. Ramos.
Yes, so this was just a comment through you to the Attorney Kelty. So you can assure us that that entire wall and its footing is completely inside your neighbor's property. You said on the property line. So the wall and footing is completely within your
inside our
client's property in all of it.
Yes.
Okay. So I get that, and I understand what you're talking about, where your client can do with their property what they want. So there is one other thing. It's not related exactly to this board, but I believe that there is a telephone pole that is going to interfere with this wall construction, and I want your client to know that if that needs to be relocated, there's a cost involved. So
yeah.
Any other
that's it.
questions?
Thank you.
At this time, I'll accept a motion.
Chairman, I would recommend permit to issue.
You have a second? Dennis Felt, second. Could I have a roll call, please, Andrew?
Dr. Otto,
No.
Mr. Feld,
Yes.
Attorney Arvanites,
Yes.
Mr. Gagnon,
Yes.
Attorney Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Simoes,
Roy, you're muted.
Yes.
Mr. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Bancourt.
No.
Thank you. It passes 6-2.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appointments, subdivision board action, proposed Stonegate subdivision.
Mr. Chairman, Attorney Kelty's here, but I'm sure he'll explain as well. In your package, you should have seen there was a letter requesting continuance of the application until October 22nd. As many of you are aware, and Jack can explain as well, but the plans that were discussed at the last meeting, the new plans that were supposed to be sent, were sent out, and I know some of you have let me know that you received them. So I believe that Jack asked me earlier, and he can explain as well, to continue and have discussion upon those plans next week, next meeting.
We take a motion to receive that and Mr. Ford.
Yes, I was going to move to receive the communication from Attorney Kelty dated 9/24 regarding an extension of time for Stonegate and grant said extension.
And to what date, Mr. Ford?
Pardon?
To what date?
Does my
22nd.
letter give you a week after your next meeting? So if your next meeting.
October 22nd.
Yep.
We have a second.
Second.
Dr. Otto, all those in favor, raise your hand, please. Unanimous.
Attorney Cooper, were you raising your hand? Yes.
Yes, I was raising my hand, yes. My apologies, I couldn't get to the hand raising icon in time, but yes.
Okay, no worries. I can say to the board, though, as a quick update from the city side in regards to Stonegate, I had mentioned this at a previous meeting that the city was setting up a meeting with the applicant and their engineers, and that meeting has been set, and we are going to meet with them to discuss this project prior to next meeting. So I will have an update at that meeting as well from the city.
And should I also advise Mr. Mello that he should make X number of hard copies? I know that he's got to get one to you, Andrew.
Full size.
Are there board members that,
I had one delivered to my house.
but it wasn't the full size, correct? I think Chris
I'll-
delivered it.
Yeah, I'll accept this size.
I'm also okay with the smaller size. I'll find my reading glasses.
I am as well.
Jack, I'll take a full size, please.
That's one.
I'm presuming the packet that was delivered to my parents' home is the small size. That should be fine.
Jack, if Chris just wants to drop it off at my office, I can then distribute it. That would be fine.
So there's only one. Was Matt from the last meeting? Is Matt one of the guys that likes full? No, he works off of smaller ones.
He also, I don't think he needs, I think he mentioned at the last meeting that he doesn't need a hard copy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he said he just wanted it online, or like an email.
Okay.
Which I did receive today, and I will send out to everybody the digital copies.
Okay, section F correspondence, went through the Stonegate definitive letter, 83 Pine Street application letter, and Parks and Recreation letter.
Mr. Chair,
Questions on those? Sorry.
no, I was just an update on why those are in your packets. According to the motion for 83 Pine Street, which was a site plan review application for Christian Covenant Academy, there was a condition put on their approval that the city and Christian Covenant Academy would have to meet within 45 days or that condition would lapse. And that both these letters are stating that they have met, they have come to a sort of agreement in regards to their situation. So I wanted just to let the board know that they had met within that 45-day period.
Okay, thank you. Any other matters before the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna stab myself and volunteer to replace you Monday morning if,
I would appreciate that because considering I'm still working.
and then I'm not.
Would that be okay, Andrew?
Yeah.
Mr. Ford will take my place as the assistant chair.
Just for full transparency base, this was between the city and the applicants for Stonegate. I had asked Chairman Betancourt to attend.
All right, any other matters properly before the board? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
For the record, at 7:42 p.m., everybody has agreed to unanimously adjourn. Have a
Thank
great
you all
evening,
very
everyone.
much.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you, everyone.
Have a good